That's one of the things about life that bothers me the most is it's just the blatant levels of dishonesty that people fucking live their lives with. Like people don't know how to be fucking honest. People don't have an ability to be truthful because people don't have access to a version of themselves that is not beholden to the consequences of their behavior. I think that's how it's justified for the most part. Is that people are living life and they are so worried about the consequences of their behavior that they sacrifice a certain level of honesty for trying to avoid any consequences that might come along with their behavior. And that's what it is. Instead of people taking the responsibility to live a life that is moral and honest, people live a life that is amoral and dishonest, and to try to but they know that there's consequences to that. That's the thing about it, is that life has or life has consequences. Being honest and being moral has consequences. Or wait, what is it? What is the nature of it? Because people are running from something. That's when people are dishonest. They're trying to get away from something. When they refuse to be truthful, it is for a reason. It's because they are afraid of what might happen if they do tell the truth. So people have an aversion to truth telling because they don't have the ability to face up to the consequences of what that is. But it's short sighted because the consequences of lying are worse. They're just delayed. You think you can get away with it, you can't. You're not going to get away with anything in this lifetime. And you might for a couple years or a couple months or a couple decades, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And it's like people think that they're going to get around. People think they're going to get away with. They're going to get around the rules. They're going to get away with whatever they want. But it's like there's also a certain level. There's a level of arrogance to that as well. But I think a lot of it is just people just don't have an understanding of themselves or what they are composed of. You're composed of a certain level of selfishness, a certain level of unfriendliness, a certain level of an inability to care about others. Like humans are very imperfect and we're very selfish and we're very self-centered. But in society, those things are not welcomed. Those type of things are not like allowed. We're not supposed to be selfish. It's bad to be selfish, right? That's what everyone would say. But the truth is that everyone inherently is. So what ends up happening is that people just are living a life that is like chock full of lies. Almost everything they say is a lie because they're trying to live up to this standard of morality, which they are unable to meet, or they don't even attempt. That's the thing. Like to be a good and moral person, you have to rise above the inadequacies of the self and of the human being, of the human form. And it takes real effort to do that. But people are lazy. They don't want to even try. And maybe we can't. Maybe the nature of the situation is that we can't rise above what we are as imperfect creatures. And so we're forced to be in a situation where everything in our life, if we're pretending to be, people want to pretend to be good people so we can get along in a society that demands it. But no one really is. Or it's either that no one actually is good and everyone pretends to be, or people could be good if they put in effort, but no one wants to put in the effort, so they just lie. They just pretend. So that's where, like, I think most things in life, if you encounter someone who is not an honest person, it's because of that. It's because either they're trying to live up to a standard that they will never meet, or they are too lazy to put in the effort to actually live up to that standard. It's probably some combination. It's probably different for everyone because like some people just don't have an ability. Some people don't have an ability to put aside the more primal instincts that we have as humans. And but this is one of the conflicts that's at the heart of a formed society in which we live in, is that we have these sort of ideals that we have come up with as a group. You know, being honest, being moral, being a good person are something that we put that forward as these things that we should try to do. But people have this part of them that just isn't that. But the big thing that I don't mind that. I don't mind people not being perfect. That's totally understandable because it just is what it is. But what bothers me is people pretending to be so. That's what I don't like, is that people will run around and try to put it forward an image of themselves as perfect when they're not even fucking close. I mean, it's exacerbated by the modern society with social media and the internet and these superficial levels of presenting oneself. It just, the propensity to give forth some image of you as an entity as better than you are. I don't know what it is. What is the reward for doing that? I think the reward is just avoiding the consequences. There's consequences to being what you are, but they're unavoidable. That's the thing, is that you're going to get it no matter what. And I would honestly, I would rather be around evil people that are honest about it, that are honest and open. And they're like, yeah, we're evil people. We do horrible things, but we're not going to pretend to be something we're not. I'd rather be around people like that. It wouldn't be fun. I mean, I'm not saying I praise people like that, but I'm saying that I would rather be around someone who is honest and amoral than be around someone that pretends to be a good person and is actually not. Because those people are saying, like, at one stroke, like, neither of them are good people, but at least one person isn't pretending to be something that they are not. Like, that is the part of it that I don't like. So I accept the aspects of humanity which are not perfect. I get it. That's understandable. Like, it is what it is. What are you going to do about that? The part that I don't like is people running around pretending. And there's so many parts. I think we look at society today, like, there's so many problems. I think a lot of them come down to people pretending to be something that they're not. Like, a lot of things on the individual level and the macro societal level, like, the ability of humans to slip between the truth and a lie and live in that space, but where the nebulous reality that you create, that's the shit that fucking gets to me, man. Because those are snakes, dude. Like, those are dangerous people, because they can live in a place that doesn't have any sort of basis in reality. And when they're doing that, they're able to justify really anything. They can do anything in their own, like, they don't have to, they're not beholden. If you're able to lie and get away with it, you think that you can get away with it whatever you want. So then that devolves into people, like, there's this snowball effect where people start to go so far. But at the same time, they pretend to be something that's good when they're actually heading down a pathway to hell very fast. That's what a lot of stuff in society, you see that now. Like, people want to pretend like they're a good person, but, like, the shit you do isn't actually good. It's bad. But you sit there and you pretend that it's good. Like, just, I mean, there's so many examples of this. I don't really want to go into them, because in this day and age, there's, like, a taboo against calling people out for doing shit that's bad. Like, there's big lies and there's little lies. There's small and large lies. And it's one of the bigger lies that we have is that people can do whatever they want. But it's like some things in life are not going to turn out good, whether or not you think they are. But people want to pretend that they are going to get that whatever they do should be allowed. And that's just an example. That's an exacerbation on the macro scale of the same thing, is that people start to buy into this idea that we can kind of make the reality into whatever we want it to be. And that's just an outpouring of the fact that we aren't telling the truth. And the not telling the truth is a result of being afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. So it's built in fear, but it leads to this place that now anything is allowed. So it's kind of this self-perpetuating ideology of, it's an aversion to morality. That's what it is. It's an aversion to morality, because you go into a place where you essentially run so far from being honest with yourself about who you are that you are building up this facade of the world that looks like some sort of creation that is real. It looks like some sort of framework that should be justified, but it doesn't have any justification because it's something that was presented and it was formed within this sort of morality that presumes to be malleable. But the thing is that's never been true. The only way you can get to a point where you think that you can define your own morality is when you've started to tell yourself lies about who you are as a person. So, but once you start to go down that road, you're going to get to a place where you have an understanding of what life is that you've created, and now you've started to create your own little world that you're living in. But it's built in this bubble of a lie. Now everything lives inside this bubble, but guess what? The bubble exists in the real world. So just because you're inside of a bubble that you thought you created this morality, it doesn't actually exist. It's a facade. And it's like those people are going to find out. You're going to find out that what you thought was a life that you could create your own rules it just doesn't happen. Because in the first place, you stepped away from the consequences of being honest. And you can't do that because you don't get anything for nothing. You don't get something for nothing, and you don't get to create your own fucking world. And now we're at a point on a societal level where there's the whole group of people who have created this idea of the world that they think they have created their own new world of morality. But it's all built on the first idea. The first person who ran away from the truth started to justify every other step in that direction. So it's like, if you're sitting here, an honest and forthright and moral life is right here. If you start to deviate in any way, now you've gone down that path, and the end of that path leads you to a place where you don't have any sort of connection to where you were in the first place. You don't even have an understanding of what that was when you first started to understand the world, because you've gone so far from that perspective, which was actually valid. And some people are born into a world that's the other thing. Some people are born into a world that's already inside of this construction that people have tried to create that doesn't have any real basis. So like, how far removed are you from reality at that point? You talk about, and let's say you get 3 generations away from the truth. Now you're in a place where you don't even know which way is up and down. But it's all built on a lie. It's built on this idea that people have that they can put their own spin on the way that the world is. But it's like, if you actually understand what the truth is, there is no avoidance of it. But people want to try to create that. And it's like that. I think that is the basis of all of the problem in society, is the fact that people want to think that we have differing ideas of what is true and what is moral and what is valid. But it's not. It's not the case. Just some people have strayed in a certain direction. But it all goes back to being honest and telling the truth. And if you are being honest and telling the truth, then there is no differential from you and anyone else who's doing the same thing. Now, going back to honest people who are amoral, that doesn't have any connection to this. You can be honest and amoral and still have an understanding of the world, which is valid. You're going to pay for what you do, and you accept that. And there's some sort of admirable responsibility to doing that. I would rather see someone do something and know they're going to pay for it than see someone do something and pretend they're going to get away with it. And that's the thing that is really the problem, is that we have people that are living inside of, like, how does this be allowed to perpetuate itself? How do people even start to get there? Well, they start to get there by someone telling them that they can create their own rules. You never can. It's like, really the basis of what it is that there is a truth to tell. There is a truth to tell, and if you try to run from it. But I think that some people don't even know how to construct a version of reality in their head, because they are so used to being dishonest to themselves and not even acknowledging what that is. Like that's a point where I don't know how to reach those people. I don't think that they're any different. It's not that they have their own version of morality is that they're living inside of a lie that they don't really understand at all. If that type of person were to listen to this, then what I think their reaction would just be immediately, they would understand it and know exactly what I'm saying, but they would be forced to defend their own world. Because if you have built up this house of cards, you're not going to let it be smashed down so easily, especially if you get rewarded in the short term. Don't forget that in the short term, if you were rewarded for lying, you're going to keep doing it. We have a whole society that's built on this now. It's people that think they can get away with that type of shit, but it's like it doesn't come down to your ability to get away with something. It comes down to your ability to tell the truth. And if you can't do that, then you pay. Now, going to the point of actually paying, the consequences of paying the truth, or the consequences of saying the truth, I think that's misconstruing the point. Because there is no consequences to something that is inevitable. That's not a consequence. It's just an aspect of reality. It's an aspect of what is. You can't avoid it. You don't get a consequence for putting yourself in a situation that was going to happen every single time. That's just called the procession of a timeline of the world. And people who want to this. I mean, it's a perfect timing for a perfect example. Like, let's just say people who drive really loud cars, they will tell you that they are driving that car because they think it's cool, or they say they like the sound of the car, or they enjoy that experience. They like hearing it. No, you don't like hearing it. What you're doing is you want everyone to pay attention to you so fucking badly that you're driving down the street with a car that's making so much fucking noise that everybody that drives by is forced to look at you. But this is an aspect of it. This person is presenting themselves as this, well, I just like driving cars. I think they're cool. I think cars are cool. No, you need attention so fucking badly that you had to lease an expensive car just so you could drive down the street, and then everybody that you fucking drove by had to fucking look at you. Like, that's the lie. They're not acknowledging the fact that this would be hilarious if someone was driving a car and you asked them, hey, why are you driving that car? It's so loud. Why do you do that? And they're like, yeah, I just, I didn't get enough attention as a child, and now I have to drive this car because I really need attention from people. I don't know what to do if people aren't looking at me at all times. I have a really low self-esteem. I'm not very intelligent. I don't really have any skills other than, they have no skills at all. So what they're like, what I have to do is I have to drive this car. It's really loud. It's the only way I can really feel like I'm important. And so that's what I do. And that's why I have this car. No one would ever be that honest. Those people don't even know themselves. Like, that's their way of being a man. That's their way of presenting themselves to the world. But they're so dishonest. They're probably not even intelligent enough to understand this. Is probably, those people are retarded. People who like loud cars are some of the dumbest people that have ever lived. I mean, those people, that's all they have. If your personality is built on a car, you are a mentally impaired human. You don't have any intellectual capacity if that's what you do. But that's the through line to it, is that's just an example of the type of dishonesty. I mean, it's like a girl. It's like a whore. It's like a girl in college who just fucked a lot of dudes, and she says it's just because she wanted to feel free. She wanted to, whatever. She was just having fun. I was just having fun. Maybe you were just having fun, or maybe you have like a real self-esteem problem, and every time that you give up your pussy to a man, you feel like you're worth it. You feel like you're valid. It makes them feel validated to have guys like them. But again, a girl would never be that honest. But that's the fucking we build up these shells of fake truths in our head to this point where now we justify any type of behaviors, whether it's a girl being a whore, whether it's a guy driving a super loud car down the street and annoying everyone that they pass by. These people are not living honest truths. Like, why do we do things? Why do we actually have certain behaviors? There are reasons for it, but people are dishonest 95 to fucking 99% of the time about why they do shit. The reason, the rationale, the impetus, the actual truth behind what you're actually doing, people do not have an ability to fucking present it as what it is. People are sometimes so far into the lie that they don't have an understanding themselves of what that is. And that's the brutal honesty. That's the type of shit. Like, if you look at your own life and your own decisions, and some people they're so far into the fucking lie that they don't even know themselves at all. If they stepped outside of that lie, actually, I don't know. Do they conceptualize it as that? I mean, there are layers to things. Like, everybody, you can always peel back another layer of fucking behavior. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like, what is the actual rationale? What is the reason for you to fucking be existing? What is the reason? What are you trying to get? I mean, relationships are mostly built on lies. You can't be straightforward in a relationship. Think about that. If you're trying to hit on a girl, you're like, hey, I just want to fuck you. That's what it is. That's going up to a girl in the fucking mall and talking to her, pretending that you like her, think her fucking shoes are cool. No, you just want to fuck her. But that's the lie. And there is an aspect of it that society is kind of built on it. We do need lies because being so honest, we can't handle it because we've constructed this world in with which it is not acceptable to tell some lies, or to tell some truths, I should say. It is not acceptable to tell some truths in society. And it's like, we got to understand, like, when we build a society on lies, if it is not acceptable to tell the truth in a society, in any aspect, you've built a society that is built on lies. And I think that's where we are today. That's why we have so many problems, because we are very rarely honest. And we're living in a world with the individual, the state, the community, the social sphere, the economic world. Everybody is telling a lie because nobody was willing to present what their actual motivations are. So that's what I'm saying, is that people who are actually honest about why they do something, it's such a fucking change, man. It's such a refreshing change, because most people are just walking around talking out of their ass. Either they don't know themselves or they do know themselves and they're pretending to be something they're not. It is one of the pieces of life that bothers me the most. It's one of the pieces of life that I just can't get along with, the fucking society that chooses to be so dishonest at all times. It's one of the things in this lifetime that I've never been able to find a good way to exist within a world that is so willing, not even willing to, that's their fucking propensity. That's their first instinct, is to lie. But the society's instinct is to lie. The society's built on lies. We're built on lies. And it's like, some people will get offended when you bring up the lie. It's taboo. It's taboo to be honest. Think about that. We live in a world where it's taboo to be honest. That's fucked. If that don't tell you we have problems, I don't know what will, because when you start to build things up, when you start to build up lies, as I said, you start to live in a world that is removed from reality. But the reality's still here, and it's going to come and fucking get you. You can't escape. You can't run from reality. The way that the world works is such a fucking... The world is fair. This is something I've learned over time. The world is fair. And you will pay for what you do. And I think that people that lie don't get away with it. Even if they think that they do, even if they think that they are going to, or they think they might, it's never going to happen. There's going to be consequences, and you're going to pay. But that's just the thing, man. even this conversation, I know so many people will probably fucking tune out of this shit. They don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear about that. People just want to live their stupid little fucking in the middle of their stupid life that they're fucking living. And most of 75% of what they do on a daily basis is not true. Doesn't actually have any fucking relevance to any sort of existence that should be fucking held up as some paragon of truth and virtue. So then that we're left with the consequence. The consequences is we have a society which crumbles and falls apart as it proceeds. Like this is probably a result of living in America at a time when we're towards the end of the society and the culture as we know it, because now we're at a point where we've been living this lie for too long, and it can no longer perpetuate itself, and it has to be destroyed. That's the thing about the bubble. You can't have the bubble's not going to last forever. It's going to pop eventually. This is the shit you see this in financial markets. Financial markets are all built on lies. Everything about that shit is a lie. It is a group of people pretending that what they are doing is valid. It's not. It's stealing money. It's criminal behavior, and it will be punished. And you might get punished in the next life. You might be this one. I don't know. But you're not going to get away with it. And that goes for morality in the social sphere as well. If you go around living some sort of projection of existence that does not have any basis in truth, you will get fucking punished, because life is fair and you don't get to lie, and you don't get to lie and get away with it. And you see it time and again, man. And you might pay. You're going to pay in that type of society. You might pay for telling the truth too. But guess what? In the long term, you're not going to get those same punishments that everyone else is going to get, because they've been living this fucking lie. You're going to end up getting a backlash from a group of people who do not want to acknowledge their own behavior. But what you're not going to get is you're not going to end up in a situation where life has put you so far removed from what you could have been that now you're in this place where you're nothing. And that's where I think that's what a lifetime of lying will get you, is you'll turn into a shell of anything. So I know no one listens to that type of, no one cares about that type of fucking discourse, because everyone's so deep, everyone's so leveraged. This is the thing about society too, is everyone's so fucking leveraged into the lie that even acknowledging it is kind of unproductive for most people. It's unproductive because there's nothing they can do at this point in their life. They're not going to turn it around and start being moral and honest. That's not going to happen. So you end up in this situation where people they don't have a choice but to just fucking put their head down. Even if every once in a while they are kind of made aware of this type of thing, they're like, yeah, that's true. You know what? We are all full of shit. By the time the sun comes up the next day, they're going to be right back to the same shit, because everything that they have is built on the lie. Everything in their world is a lie. And when that's the case, you can't tell the truth, because you're risking everything. That's the thing. People are leveraged. People are 100% leveraged by the consequences of the way the society is operated, because we're in a position now where if you want to get along in society, you have to go along with the lie. And if you don't, you're going to pay a price, but it's in the short term. I promise you that. Like this goes right back to the truth. There's always a consequence. You say consequence, I just say a reality. There's always a reality that there's going to be some sort of pain involved in life, and you can't run from it. And that's part of what we conceptualize as honesty. I think dishonesty never existed until humans created it. Humans created lying because we wanted to try to run away from some of the pain of life. But the pain of life is inevitable. You can't run away from it. It's not that type of thing. You can't run away from something that is a part of you. The pain of life is not something you can't negotiate with life in that way. Like, it just exists. And people are so desperately try to reduce and mitigate the suffering. And I get it. Life can suck, man. Life is painful. We go through that type of shit, but it's just a part of what it is. And everyone has tried to convince themselves that they can escape it. Then you can't escape it. You're gonna get it, and I see everyone get it. I'm watching. I'm sitting here. Society's right here, and I'm watching. You're seeing people start dropping one by one. By the time they leave this planet, they've paid. You see it. Look at everyone, man. Go watch the news. Everything that happens to people it's people paying for their choices. It's people paying for their choices. Every bad thing that happens to someone is a payment. It is a payment that it has been coming to you. It's been coming to you. And whenever the time is that comes and it comes time to pay the piper, you're gonna have to pay. And people are like, whoa, why did this happen to him? He was a good person. Well, no, he actually was full of shit from the day he came out of the womb. He just pretended to be a good person, and that was part of the lie. People want to pretend that that's complex. I don't think that's complex at all. I think it's complex to live in a world where you've created your own reality. You've strived so fucking diligently to create a world that exists in some sort of digestible way to you, because you're so scared of the inevitabilities of life. But their inevitabilities are inevitable. You can't run from inevitability. It's going to happen no matter what you do. You can't fucking get away from it. It's a piece of you. It's a part of you. It is you. The pain is part of you. The suffering is part of you, and you don't get away with anything, dude. That's the piece of it. That's actually the piece of it that I think might convince people to change their ways, is that because people don't want to be in pain. And of course, why would you want to be in pain? But I'm telling you, you're going to get it. You may as well jump into the water and just take it now. That's what it is. It's the same type of. It's just get it over with. But people try so hard to delay the inevitable. They run so fast away from something that is in front of them. It's funny, they're running towards it. That's the nature of something that is unescapable. Is you're actually running towards it, no matter which way you go. So just stop running, turn around, and fucking take it, dude. Take the pain. Be the pain. Embody it. Take it into your soul and become it, man. Make friends with the monster under your bed. You can't get away from him. It's you. And these lies that people tell, this is like, and again, man, all of this just comes from living in a world that just doesn't understand certain truths. And I just get so sick of it. I get sick of people that don't understand themselves, because you end up, and it just like everything in life, it's all short term. It's all short term. We're all going to die eventually. It doesn't really matter in the end. But while we're in the interim, it's exceptionally frustrating to sit in a world where I have to interact with the world now, because I have to try to survive every day. But the world doesn't really have any interest in being honest. The world has interest in perpetuating the lie that it's built on. Of course, it's a self-perpetuating entity. It's like a corporation or a social group. It's going to do whatever it can to keep itself alive, including lying. That's what you got to be aware about. Fucking things that are trying to fucking organisms are not to be trusted, because they are, at the end of the day, they will sacrifice everything for self-preservation. That's why I reject myself as an organism, man. I'm an entity. I'm not an organism. I don't give a fuck if I die. I don't need to preserve myself. I guess I do, actually. And that's the thing. I'm not any better than anyone else, I guess, at the end of the day. Because I have to exist inside of this fucking world too. I gotta try to stay alive. What am I gonna do? Not? So you're sitting in between these gaps in knowledge. And people want to pretend like they have some sort of fucking justification for their shit, but they don't even know themselves at all. I'm just tired of it, man. You get tired of people. You get tired of seeing the truth when other people are not. Sometimes I would just like to put the fucking blindfold on like everyone else and just shut the fuck up and go back into the fucking fold. Try to fold myself back into the herd. But it's impossible. Some people just aren't meant to do that. It's a curse. It's the curse of those who are forced to see the truth. It's the curse of those who are forced to see the truth, but it's not a curse because the curse is that we are in a world which is built on lies. And I don't know why we did that. I don't know why we thought as humans that was a good idea. Why did we think that we can live in a world that's built on lies? Who started that? Who was the first liar? You know? You go back to the stories about Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden. That's the thing. The first thing that they did once they left the Garden of Eden was they fucking put clothes on. People they found clothing. Clothing was only created after paradise was lost. Because we want to hide from ourselves. We want to hide from who we are. And that's the first act of dishonesty. It really is biblical, man. I'm not really a religious person, but it's like that shit does have bearing on what we are. Like we are a species that has strayed so far from the natural that we don't even remember what it is. But that was when it started. Is we decided to take a look behind the curtain, and we didn't like what we saw. That was the thing. We decided to take a look behind the curtain of what life actually is. We're curious enough to do that. And we're like, oh, what's going on here? And then we saw the fucking demons, man. Like we started to understand what we are, and then we were scared. And then we've been trying to run away from ourselves ever since. That's exactly what it is, man. We're trying to run away from what we are. We're self-hating. Our species doesn't like to look at our truths. But you can't run away. You can't get away from it. I'm just sick of people, man. I'm sick of people living in this world where they're trying to fucking pretend to be something they're not. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. And you should know it, and you should accept it. That's it. That's all. You know, just another fucking day on the planet, living this life, having to fucking look at the world as it is and see things for how they are, not fucking pay the consequence. You don't want to fucking hear it. You don't want to hear that shit. All right, go fuck yourself. Don't fucking listen to it. Well, guess what? You're gonna fucking listen today because you need to fucking hear it. So shut the fuck up. Thank you very much. Good night. Goodbye.